Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be talking about geometric proof versus the algebraic proof. So now we're actually getting into the geometry steps. This is chapter 2, section 7, corresponding to our book. We're going to ask ourselves, how can I justify statements of geometric proofs? So we're actually not going to write the proof, we're just going to give reasons for those steps. Now tomorrow we're going to have to complete the whole proof by giving the statement and the reason, which is just a logical pathway of solving things. And it takes a little bit of time. So we're just going to review a few of the key terms we've learned, such as segment addition. This is copied and pasted from our notes from earlier. So if we have PM and MQ, we're going to add this plus this to get the entire length. So if we break a segment into two parts, we can do it with the addition sign. This also applies to angle addition as well. So angle addition, if I have angle 1 and 2 and the whole angle here of xwz or zwx, whatever you want to name it, we can say that this whole angle is just angle 1 plus angle 2. And we use n for measure, the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 2. If we're talking about the degrees of it, we have to use the measure symbol. Now, congruent, remember it's that symbol, it just means that they have the same measure. We've also talked about what congruent means. It's the same shape, same size. We usually think about congruent as shapes, so like segments, or we're going to talk about triangles eventually, things that are the same shape. So, and segment AB right here is congruent to segment CD here, which is how we wrote it there. So those are just some review of things we need to know in order to do these first few proofs. So now it will look a little bit strange, but it's going to have a statement of what's happening, just like before. So we're given some things, and then we're going to do a couple things, and then we're given some things. Now, it might not be the first statement that is given to us, which you can see what's given. Those are not them. But we can use some of the stuff we've done. So we'll have to provide our reason for each statement. Now, what I like to do is look for the given. Well, PR is ST, so that's right there. QR as SQ, those are right there. Those are my first go-to points, and I'm just going to say those are given to me. If you do not get these on your test or homework, that's the first thing you should always do. Is we're given some stuff, so those are free points. So you just write down that they're given. Now, where does this PR equals PQ plus QR come from? So I'm going to just start highlighting things. So let's think about PR. PR is from here all the way to here. It's that whole thing right here. This is equal to, let's highlight this, PQ. PQ is right there. And I highlighted in green just underneath it a little bit. And then QR is this right here. So notice how we have this red and this green. If we put them together, it's that entire thing, which that is called segment addition. So our first thing is called segment addition. So again, it's putting two segments together to make the whole thing. So again, we're just saying the green plus the red. If I put a plus sign here, it's equal to that orange, that whole length there. Now, if I'm looking at the next one, so if I look at ST, which is S all the way to T, that looks very similar to what I'm doing here. So let's just try and see if it also follows that same strategy. So let's say, well, SQ is S to Q here. That's the blue part. And let's say QT is from here to here. Again, we're saying this blue plus this orange is that entire yellow length again. That is also going to be segment addition. So it's just taking that segment and splitting it into two different parts. And we're just justifying those steps. So why can I write those are true? Well, those are things that we learned in one of our first few sections of this chapter. Now, this is probably the hard part, is looking at what we're given here, and then how did I get from these three steps, 1, 2, and 3, all the way to here. Now, I'm going to highlight some stuff, or I'm going to underline here. Let's do some underlining, and let's do it in green this time. So how did I get PQ plus QR on the left side, and how did I get this SQ plus QT on the right side? So I'm going to notice that I have SQ plus QT here, and I'm going to notice that I have PQ plus QR. So if I notice this is right here and this is right here, and just notice that PR happens to be equal to this. I'm going to take PR, because PR is right here, and I'm going to replace PR with PQ plus QR. So I'm plugging or substituting that into this value. And then we get right there. Notice ST is SQ plus QT. So I'm going to take this value and just swap it out with those, just like a substitute teacher. If I'm gone, someone replaces me. So ST is the same thing as this, so it's being replaced by that. So this is going to be our substitution step. By the way, a lot of geometric proofs have substitution involved. So now that we have that, again, we're already given this. Now, we've used these first three steps. We're kind of checking those off. Like, hey, I've already used this, I've used this, I've used this. Now I'm on step 4, and I've been given something else. Now, what do we notice about these two that gets me to this step? And this is where I highlight stuff. So we have SQ and QT. Those stayed the same. We have PQ, PQ, and the plus sign. Those are the same. The equal sign's the same. The only thing that's different is QR and SQ. Those, I'm going to highlight in blue. Let's highlight it in red, actually, just to have some difference here. Those are different. And notice QR and SQ are the same thing. So we're just saying QR, we're going to replace it with SQ, which again is that substitution. So we're going to substitute. So substitution, that's a U, back into that. And then our final step here is, well, how did I get from here to here, and how did I get from here to here? And the biggest thing is to notice, what do both sides share in common? So again, I like to highlight things. So let's highlight them in, we haven't done green over for a while. So PQ, PQ is equal, and QT, and QT. So how did I get that green part to be there and get rid of, how did I get rid of this right here and this right here? Well, they're both SQ. I can subtract to both sides. So we can use our subtraction, because we're going to subtract to both sides. So subtraction property of equality. Now on Alex, it'll say addition or subtraction property. That's fine. So it's either adding or subtracting to both sides. In this case, we're subtracting SQ to both sides. So okay, we're going to do one more example together here. So let me highlight that in blue here, because that's our example, and let's try this. So first off, I like to highlight down the given. So again, we're given the measure of angle CDE is equal to the measure of angle GFE. CTE, oh, sorry, that's not right there. So the measure of angle CDE is GFE, and the measure of angle 2 and 4 are the same. So those are my given steps. So those should be the first two steps that I just always start with, just because they're very easy, free points. And if you're doing a test on a 7-point question like this, that's 2 out of 7 points. Now, the next thing is just drawing kind of things in the picture. So we can kind of say that measure of angle 2 and 4 are equal to each other. The measure of angle CDE and GFE are also equal to each other. So I'm just going to kind of highlight those. So GFE and CDE are going to be equal to each other. So those entire angles. So this whole angle and this whole angle are equal. And we're trying to prove that 1 and 3 have to be the same. So we're kind of walking through this proof process and just justifying each of these statements. So let's go through the first one. And I'm going to start by highlighting, again, the measure of angle CDE, which we've already done. This measure of angle CDE is both the measure of angle 1, the measure of angle 1 right here, the measure of angle 1, and the measure of angle 2 combined. So if I put angle 1 and 2 together, we add them up and equal this angle. Remember, that's angle addition this time. So not segment addition, it's angle addition. By the way, a lot of these things we're doing right on will include both segment or angle addition. Just putting two angles together to make the full angle. Now if we look at the next one, let's do that in orange. So this angle here, GFE, is going to be again, let's do this one in green. So the measure of angle 4, which is right here. And we have, let's do this one in blue, the measure of angle 3, which is right here. So the angle 3 and angle 4 together make the whole thing very similar, or the very much the same thing is called angle addition. We're putting two angles together to create that whole angle. So again, two angles make one big angle. Done. Now, how did I use these three to get to here? Again, these things that we're going to be walking through are very similar in a lot of ways. This is like the same kind of thing as we just did with segment addition. Now, again, we're going to look at here, how do things change? So how did I get from these three things all the way to this step? Now, where does this measure of angle 1 and 2 come from? Well, I have it right there. Where does this measure of 3 and 4 come? Well, I have it right there. Now, I remember that measure of 3 and 4 is GFE, so I'm going to take this and plug it in for GFE. So that's substituting it in to replace it. Same with CDE, measure of angle CDE. Those are the same, which is measure of angle 1 and 2. This gets plugged in right there. So we're kind of, let me do this color. You're going to kind of mosey on and put that in there. We're going to take this and substitute it there. So this is substitution again. So again, you're looking for angle or segment addition. Again, we're using angles here, so hence angle addition. And we're going to substitute a lot. So then we've used this step, this step, this step. Now we're going to be looking at these steps. We have the given step and these steps. How did I get from 4 and 5 to 6? So let's see what's changing. So we have the measure of angle, and let's highlight this. So the measure of angle 1 plus, the measure of angle 1 plus is equal to the measure of angle 3 and 4 is equal to the measure of angle 3 and 4. Those are identical, those are identical, these are identical, these are identical. Measure of angle 2 and 4, they somehow switched. So this is what's changing, and that's based off of what is given. So measure of angle 2 and 4 are identical, so we can just flip-flop them, switch them out. So measure of angle 2, we're substituting that in for that. So again, we're going to use a substitution. Substitution, and I am terrible at spelling, so sorry, it takes me a while to think through it. Now, we've used all of those, so we used 4 and 5. Now, how do I get from here to here? Well, again, we're going to just highlight what is the same. So measure of angle 1, measure of angle 1, equal sign, measure of angle 3, measure of angle 3. So how did I get rid of this red and orange? Well, they're the same thing, so I can subtract them to both sides. So this is in fact that subtraction, and then property of equality. Again, on Alex, it'll say added or subtraction properties. So that is kind of justifying and walking through. Again, you should be listening to this versus just watching it. So please follow along with that. Now, go to the last one and try this one yourself. I will have answers shortly. So hopefully you tried it. It's very similar to all of them. Again, they're going to look very similar. There might be less steps, there might be more steps. These ones still use segment addition. Put in your givens first. Notice that we're going to probably use substitution, and then we either subtract or add a lot of times. So make sure you have that. If you have questions, please let me know.